We use loops when we want to repeat a piece of code, and we repeat it as long as a certain condition is met. Loops save you time and make your code more readable. In this video, we'll learn about for loops and while loops. For example, if you want to print numbers from 1 to 5, you can do it by writing debug 5 times or use one of the loops. In this case, we will use the for loop because we know exactly how many times we want to repeat a block of code. It's 5 times to print 5 numbers. Let's take a look at the syntax. We write for, parentheses, followed by curly brackets. Inside parentheses, we write 3 statements. In the first statement, we set a variable that we usually use as a counter for loop steps. This statement happens only once and before the loop starts. The variable we defined is called an iterator. Next, we write the condition that needs to be met in order for the loop to continue. We want our loop to write the first 5 numbers, so we set the condition to I less or equal than 5, followed by a semicolon. If the condition is met, the loop will continue and execute code between curly brackets. That is the part that for loop repeats. One repeat cycle is called iteration. Here we want to repeat debug log that will print iterator I. The last thing we need to do is to increase the iterator so it's not 1 with every print. Remember, we want to print numbers from 1 to 5. After each iteration, for loop will execute the third statement. And in that statement we change our iterator depending on what we need. In this situation we need to increase it by 1 for each iteration. The short notation for this is I++. Let's see how this loop works step by step. We set the variable to 1, usually we start from 0, but for this example it's okay to start from 1. This happens only once and then we check the condition. 1 is less than 5, we can continue. Next, print iterator I, value is 1. Then increase the iterator by 1. Again, check the condition, 2 is less than 5, print the iterator and again increase it by 1. We keep doing this until the iterator gets a value of 6. 6 is not less or equal to 5, the condition is not met and we exit the loop. Now let's try it in a script. Create script loops and add it to a game object. Create one function for the loop, and inside create the for loop from the previous example. Be careful about the syntax, it's a bit tricky at the beginning. Call the function in the start. In Unity, press play. In the console, you should see the first 5 numbers. There are many possibilities with for loops. For example, we can increase step through the loop by 2 instead of 1. Or we can decrease it. We can change the condition and iterator value as we need. Take a moment and try to guess what will this loop print. Let's see it in the console. Now let's take a look at the while loop. The while loop is designed to repeat an action as long as a certain condition is met. Usually we use the while loop when we don't know how many times the loop is going to run. The syntax is simple. We write while, parentheses and curly brackets. Inside parentheses we put a condition. As long as the condition is met, the while loop will repeat code between curly brackets. Here you need to be careful because if the condition is always met, the while loop will never stop and it will crash your program. Trust me, it happens sometimes. Let's say we have a timer and we want to decrease it to 0. Create a variable timer and set it to any positive number you want. In the start function, write while, parentheses, and we want to repeat code as long as the timer is greater or equal to 0. Between curly brackets, print the value of the timer and decrease it by 1 every time we repeat this loop. Save the script, go to Unity and press play. You can see that the timer was decreasing as long as the condition was met. When the timer value became less than 0, the while loop stopped. As you can see in the print result, there are no negative numbers. Great! Now you know something about loops, it's time for a challenge. Check the reminder and good luck!